Hey everyone, what's up? Blue here. Wow, today was awesome. We had some exciting matches. They were close. We got to see map 5 in the grand finals. That's awesome. We got to see two best of 5s actually, and we also got to see a best of 3. All 3 maps. So it was awesome. It was a great day of some Rogue Company Championship Series action. First and foremost, some people have been asking me, what do you think of the LAN since you weren't casting it, you weren't working it from an outside perspective? I don't really want to comment on it. I think that the players played well. I think that they represented themselves, their teams in the game righteously. Other than that, I can't really comment on the production or the casting because I wasn't there, and I'm just going to get labeled a hater or salty. So I don't want to start that conversation. So I pretty much won't be commenting on anything else. So you're not going to get that out of me. Sorry. But let's talk about these games because Aerial Arise was the team after the second day of the LAN. I put up that video yesterday saying, you know what? I think Aerial Arise can win this. I think that they can, come out on top, and I think Nash will return to the glory days. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. They did beat Rome's Bandits 2-1. That was the best of 3 that went 3. That was a great matchup. I think it was entertaining to watch. I think it was good back and forth action. I really liked the way that Hizzy, Rugi, and KO played. It's their first LAN for all 3 of them. They played great. And I think that if they stick together or they continue to grind, that they will only get better because that's what it seems to be for them. And don't forget, Hizzy was on a team that won a $10,000 event before. He subbed in with Prosper on a Prosper team before on Right Turtle and won a 10K online. So he knows what that winning feels like, and he wants to be a part of it again. We'll see if he continues to grind because I think that his stock will continue to improve. As for Rugi, again, Rome had him as the number 2 player coming into this. I think that he can continue to improve as well. And KO, still the best player to come from console. I think he can continue to improve as well. And also someone who learns things that people don't necessarily think are good. Like he brought out the cannon a few times. He made some plays with it. Just got to find a way to get a little bit better with those niche picks. And then if you can become dominant with that, you can just pretty much blindside some teams in the future. Then we had Right Turtle versus Black Hand. That was pretty dominant by Black Hand. This is the upper bracket finals. They won 3-0, and they were pretty dominant with that win as well. Most of those maps were not even close. So Right Turtle gets knocked down to the lower bracket finals where they face Aerial Rise. This went all 5 games, and this is where I was like, okay, I originally picked Black Hand to win this. Right Turtle was kind of my backup pick to win this. And now I have Aerial Rise winning. All 3 teams there, top 3 right now. And they went down to the absolute last moments in that map 5. Right Turtle was able to come out on top 3-2. So they go back to the upper bracket in the grand finals to go up against Black Hand. Black Hand has that 1-0 map lead before they even start any games because there's no bracket reset. And that didn't help them. They lost game 2 and game 3, which means that they were down 2-1. Then they had to win game 4 to force that game 5, and then they were up. The game map 5 went to Glacier, which was awesome because it's not a particularly favored map. So for it to be map 5, it's going to be exciting, and it was. The glimpse from Emis and Right Turtle on defense against an attacking Ronin and Dahlia just was irrelevant pretty much. They went down 5-1 at the halftime, and then they just won 6 straight rounds, I believe it was, on the attacking side. So they had to really make some adjustments at halftime, and they did so rightfully. Delana still MVP of that game. Most damage as well, and 14 downs, I believe it was, compared to Gronky and Frag Out, who had 5 and 6 respectively. Delana did everything in his power to try and keep that game in their favor and to win another championship for himself, another LAN event as well. But they ended up falling. Right Turtle come out on top. Emis got the MVP. Could have went to Prosper as well. I think Emis was the MVP and had better play throughout the course of all 3 days. But I think today Prosper really shined, especially in that grand finals, not just as an IGL, not just as a leader overall, but also as a player on that Dahlia. Just fantastic play. Had to really just be there to kind of pick up Drew in those low moments and pick up Emmis and tell Emmis, like, hey, do what you do best. Let's go out there and get some knocks. And that's what ended up happening. They ended up winning. But this LAN now concludes the Spring Road Company Championship Series. We're going to be going back to 4v4, I believe it is, for the format. And I've got actually right here, have the original pros and cons list that was given to me when we were swapping to 3v3. And I said, initially I don't like 3v3, but I'm a guy who, if you give me a pros and cons, I'll look through it, tell you what I think about it, and then I'll see how it goes, right? Like, hey, you can do 3v3. I'm not going to tell you it's stupid. I'm not going to tell you it's dumb. I'm not going to be one of those people. I'll watch it, and I'll see how it goes from there. If it's better, I'll accept my losses. I'll take the L and say, hey, it's better. Ultimately, I think it's better, or it was better overall, because mirrored rogues can happen. Like, you can have a fixer on both sides, and it does kind of open up the maps a little bit more. But I was more of a fan of 4v4, and I'm happy that we're going back to 4v4, especially with picks and bans coming in. And I'll tell you, I'm probably going to make a video talking about picks and bans, because I think that deserves its own conversation, right? We even did a video where we had a $200 wager match. You should go back and watch that, where we did a pick and ban system before there was even talks about that. So it was awesome to see that it is coming in the game. But here, look at this. Easier to form teams. It is easier to form teams. And they said that there will be more teams signing up. If you look at the LAN event, everybody there has already been playing, besides Cinderella Story, right? Dak, Tana, and Tooney were the three people that came out of this, out of everyone else. Now, were there some new teams that signed up? Yeah, of course. Were there more teams that signed up? Yes, but most of the time, it was the same players, just one less player per team means that there can be more teams. More teams, same amount of players, doesn't necessarily mean that's a huge W. But still, it's good for just the naked eye, because in gaming, in esports, people, they just look at the Twitch viewership and say, oh, they've got 1,000 viewers. This game is dead. Oh, they only have 10 teams, which is 30 players. If you do 3v3, if you do 4v4, 10 teams, that's 40 players. So if you look at it and say, oh, they've only got 10 teams, dead game, right? Like, they just look at it with the naked eye. They don't really understand things. Less super team scenarios. I mean, you had two super teams there in the grand finals, right? Turtle and Black Hand. I think Aerial Arise you could put in the category as a super team. And I think that right on the cusp of super team would probably be Rome's Bandits, Bulletproof. So less chance of super teams. I don't know. I think it's just we have so many really good players right now that a lot of different super team scenarios could be a thing, right? Can put a team of 3 in one hotel room. There are 2 beds in a room. 2 beds in a room, man. I'm not making anyone sleep on a couch, a futon on the floor, and I'm not making 2 strangers bunk up, cuddle up in the same bed. So I don't know about that one. More maps can be played. Icarus and High Castle were the examples. I love the fact that more maps can be played. Yeah, but at the same time, picks and bans with 4v4 will also allow for more maps to be played, especially now that we have the pick and ban system for maps, right? So basically, this entire pros and cons list was based off of mirrored matchups, right? Like before 3v3 came in, and these were the pros and cons. You have bigger, the maps kept getting bigger that were coming out, right? That's one. Number 2, the small maps weren't played because it was 4v4, lots of utility and mirrored matchups. And also, the maps were always the same. So if we had 4 quarterfinal matchups, they're all playing the same map game 1, same map game 2, same map game 3, and so on if it's a best of 5 or a best of 3, whatever it may be. Now, each an individual match is different because they do those picks and bans, because you're able to ban and protect maps, and you're saying, okay, this team's really good on this map, we're going to ban that one out from them, right? And then you get to pick which map you play going into the games. I think that's much better. The LAN event in January, we did the same thing. You pick and ban maps, but they were all predetermined before the entire series, right? So before game one starts, you would pick and ban all 5 maps. I think they did that for this as well, but I really, really think that it would be much better if you're picking and banning maps as you go. So before game one, you're banning your maps that can't be picked at all. You're protecting the maps you want to protect, and then you pick map 1. You don't know what map 2, 3, 4, and 5 are going to be yet. Pick map 1. Okay, game 1's over. The team that was so if it's a 1 versus an 8 seed, the 1 seed, they choose map 1. Map 2 is chosen by seed 8. Map 3, 4, and 5 is chosen by the loser of the previous game. So let's say the 1 seed lost game number 2. They're going to pick map 3. And then 8 seed loses game 3. They're going to pick map 4. The loser of game 4 picks map 5. Like, that's the way I think it should be. Each team gets 2 map bans. I think we have enough bans to do that. Get rid of the protections, right? No more protecting maps. Each team, of course, like the 1 seed in this scenario would get to ban 1 map. 8 seed bans a map. 1 seed bans their second map. 8 seed bans their second map. 1 seed gets to pick map 1. Boom. And then we just go from there. And just like the strategy involved, plus the picks and bans, I think it would open up so many different possibilities. And it's also going to get rid of 1 tricks because of the pick and ban system. And also, I think it's going to get rid of a lot of super team scenarios, and a lot of like players that aren't as mechanically good, like myself, can kind of outmaneuver you with your brain before the game even starts, right? Kind of like how in League of Legends you have those bans. 70% of that is in the draft. Paladins, Smite, Rainbow Six Siege. Like, the draft, so important in those games. Less utility on the map, of course. Again, picks and bans, I think, will solve that. More coordinated team pushes. I think that's just a thing that's going to happen more often because people are starting to have playbooks. They're starting to make plays. And, of course, again, with the picks and bans for rogues, you're going to have to make coordinated team pushes. It's not just we have a fixer, they have a fixer. Wait for their smoke, then we smoke, then goggles, stuff like that. Less ratting plays. I like the ratting plays because I like teams that can recognize, hey, this person's going to flank. And also, we still saw this in 3v3s. Let's be honest. We still saw it. Less super team scenarios. Talked about that. Top comp players spread through more teams. That's just saying, hey, we've got all these really great players. We're not going to let LeBron get all these super players. So we have to make it for some way where everyone has to balance out. This is basically skill-based matchmaking for us. We're just saying, hey, you guys aren't allowed to team together because you're too good. That's basically what that is. Easier for newer players to get into comp. It says we desperately need that. I can agree with this. I think that's a good idea. It's easier for new players to get into comp, but at the same time, it's still not, right? I think the problem with new players getting into comp is we don't have enough content creators pushing the esports scene. I can even do better in that as well. I also think that, again, the naked eye is really what the problem is, where, you only see like 200 viewers in the LAN stream during the pool play or right when it starts. So it's not instantly like Rocket League where you got 50,000 people watching. So I think that's a big problem too. We just need to spread more awareness and say, hey, it's easier to sign up and play. So why don't you do it? Another way is to actively give in-game rewards. But again, this is far reach. 24 players qualify instead of 32. Easier to manage bookings, etc. I think the more players that land, the merrier, because the more people that go, the more experience that more people get, and also the more drive, right? Like, look at Cinderella's story. Look at Valor's. Are they hungry now that they've been there? They tasted that land. Do they want to try and make it to Summerland to better themselves? And also, it's not easier to manage bookings with less people. It's just less money that needs to be spent. That's really what it comes down to. Less money. And if you look at the actual LAN event throughout the entire weekend, no ad reads and no sponsors on any of the screens. Ad reads are when like you hear someone saying, "This is brought to you by," and then they say the sponsor. So there's none of those, and there's no sponsor logos anywhere, which means that this event didn't have any big sponsors, and that's a problem. That's really what we need, is we need sponsors. We don't need more players. We don't need more viewers. We don't need any of that. That will come if we get sponsors. If we get sponsors, we get more money. If we get more money, more people are going to be interested in playing, and more people are going to be interested in watching. We need sponsors. Okay? The real problem is not any of this. Plus, sponsorship also takes care of bookings and flying 32 people out. Gives players more hope to be able to beat a top team. I think that's going to happen regardless of if it's 3v3 or 4v4, depending on how the format is. And now with a 4v4 format, picks and bans and rogues, someone's got to start using their brain. You could possibly beat the top teams. Right now, the top players are the ones that are necessarily better at aiming and are just crazy at the game. Makes every round a winnable situation, as a 1v3 clutches can happen and very exciting. 1v4s don't ever happen. You don't see many 1v3s happen now that we've sat through 3v3 for so long. Makes every team unique with the amount of rogues available. There will be tons of compositions. There wasn't. In 4v4s, it's very set in stone what to run. It's very set in stone in 3v3s. There's like 4 different compositions you use. Other than that, not much difference. But when we see picks and bans again, that will change for 4v4. Will overall be a better viewing experience and easier to understand for first-time viewers and new comp players. It was. The only thing I agree with is an easier viewing experience because it's easier to just keep track of 6 instead of 8. Prize pool split between 3 players, not 4, so more money in the winner's pockets. Again, sponsorships give us more money. Whether it's 3 or 4 players, you're splitting the same amount of money. Yeah, one individual player is getting more money, but if we get more money overall for the prize pool, then even if it's 4v4, you can get more money. More skill across more teams. That's like the same as like a couple other things we already talked about. Finding scrims and starting 8s becomes much easier as it would be 6s. Okay, 6s, like elos and stuff, that's easier because it's 2 less people. But finding scrims, if a team really wants to scrim, they will scrim. A higher chance the same team won't win every tournament. Very predictable now to a fault. Well, we just had Right Turtle versus Frag, Delana, and Gronky. So, yeah. Can still lock down all 3 lanes in most. Okay, this is like a strategy thing. I don't care. With padded being almost removed, flanking will be much harder in 3v3, so there will be more team-on-team fights, which is what we want. Again, I think this is like you're trying to be the MLB right now, and you're trying to force things in the league. Would bring in more new players rather than 4v4. This is also something we already touched on. Better for smaller community game overall. Again, sponsorship will bring in more people. Look at how many people popped back up when we said we're having a LAN event the first time. Look how many more people popped up when we said we're having a $12,000 LAN event this spring, right? Like the money is what brings people in, okay? We just need to bring in more people with more money. Less trouble to finalize rosters before the LAN, I guess. I mean, it's always going to be roster musical chairs in Rogue Company because we're a small game and a small community. This is a great opportunity to try something new for a scene that needs a spark to its comp scene. I agree with that. It was. The same format as last year is not a spark. I agree. So if you're looking for that spark, we got it. Now go back to 4v4 because the spark will be picks and bans in Rogues. Moving to a 3v3 demo only helps viewership, as King of the Hill is extremely rough to watch from a viewing perspective. I can almost agree with that, but I do believe that demo only is very long. And I think that's the main reason why they went back to 7 rounds and they changed the econ. Which also, by the way, we'll get into it here in a second. Easier to spectate 6 players rather than 8. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, the original reason why we did 3v3 is because the spectator client was broken. And you could not be in the spectator position because then when you go to start the custom game, the lobby would crash every single time, no matter if there was one spectator or two in those slots, it would crash every time if someone's in the spectator slot. So what we had to do was, for some community tournaments, we had to do 3v3, and then we had spectators on each team, and they would just jump off the map each round at the start, right? And then you would spectate only the person that's on your team, because that's all you can do as a dead person of that team, right? So that's where 3v3 came in. And then we started to realize it's a lot easier to spectate 6 than it is 8. Then they fixed the spectator client. Here is the big thing I need you all to understand. The LAN in January ran, the POVs were through the spectator client so that they could cap at 240 frames through the spectator side, and the stream would be 4K 240. Okay. And that's why, and when you are spectating in Rogue Company, you can't hotkey anything. The only thing you can do is bring up the scoreboard with tab, and then to change player POVs, you're just clicking with either of these. But it's always out of order, and it's a different order every game. It's never like, okay, so you have 3 blue members, it goes this person, this person, this person, and then it goes to red, red, red. No, it goes here, there, here, there. It was always out of order, so it was very hard to pick who you wanted to spectate at a certain moment in time. For this LAN event, you could easily tell that's not what they did. What they did was they would just screen cap all the players' POVs. That's why if you saw the settings come up on the screen, it's the player doing that. If you saw when they swapped player point of views from like red team to blue team, the scoreboard would swap. That's because they were spectating from the players' POVs, just screen capping those screens. That's why they had all 6 different POVs, and they could swap to who they want when they wanted. And also, they didn't have to worry about having a spectator. So maybe the spectator client is still not fixed. I don't know. But hopefully that'll be fixed. But that is the main reason why 3v3 was even brought up. Some other examples that were given to me were like, Apex is 3v3. Okay, well, that's a battle royale. Fortnite does 3v3 competitively. That's a battle royale. What other games do 3v3? Exactly, right? So not many. But here's the 3v3 cons. Initial backlash after 16 months of 4v4 only. There was, and there will be because of that. Game was intended to be 4v4. I believe that. And might make demo offensive favorite. It did make demo a little bit offensive favored, but at the same time, they changed the amount of rounds in demo. They changed the econ, and they changed perk costs for different rogues and stuff like that. So it ended up just being the team that can hit their shots, basically, really, when it comes down to it. But yeah, I enjoyed 4v4. I enjoyed watching 3v3, and I think it was cool to watch. But I think 4v4 is much better, especially with picks and bans coming in for the Rogue. So I can't wait to watch that. Let me know what all of you think in the comments below. And also, just a quick update. There's going to be some Splitgate videos that I'm doing coming out. There's going to be an NBA 2K League video coming out as well, because on Wednesday I'll be doing my predictions in the video, because Wednesday is the start of the next tournament, which is the Turn. They had the tip-off earlier this season. Now they have the Turn. And hopefully we'll be doing some Valorant videos as well soon, and some Apex, because we have the Apex World Championship coming up in about a month. But if you're not interested in those, don't worry about it. If you're only here for Rogue Company, we will continue to put out some Rogue Company content as well. As always, I hope you guys have a lovely day. Keep grinding, and I hope that you all stay safe. See you on the next one.
Oh, hello there. It's Blue. I'm a terrible dancer, so ignore that version of me on the screen and listen to my voice when I say thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and of course, click on another video of mine. I heard you'll like those over there. They're pretty good.